was positively identified from samples collected in the Limpopo province. The samples were jointly collected by scientists from the ARC Grain Institute, the Northwest University. These were caterpillars that had to pupate and emerge as months before a positive identification could be done. The moths were collected on Friday, 3rd February from the northern parts of Gauteng and positively identified as Fall Armyworm. Fall Armyworm is native to South and Central America and also occurs in the southern state of the USA. The first detection of Fall Armyworm in Africa was notified in January 2016 when it was reported from Nigeria. From there, it spread to several other West African countries and to Central Africa by April 2016. Media reports from Zambia, Zimbabwe, and Malawi indicated an outbreak of this pest during December 2016. DAFF informed commodity and research organizations of a possible threat and encouraged producers to report suspicious pest damages. The initial possible pest reports, which led to sample collection and positive identifications. The Fall Armyworm is a strong flyer and could be distributed by prevailing winds over large distances. The department realizes that transboundary pests and diseases, especially migratory pests, threaten food security, and that coordination regional efforts are important to address these risks. The department will therefore participate at the upcoming engagement hosted by the Food and Agricultural Organization, which claims to strengthen and align efforts, strengthen controls of plant and animal pests and diseases. We will equally continue to our engagement with SADC to ensure early warnings of these biological threats are in place. The South African Emergency Plant Pest Response Plan is already in motion, which deals with new pest detections in South Africa. The actions implemented depend on the pest, the extent of the spread, and the extent of the damage. Now that there is a positive identification, DAFF will continue with assessment of spread and damage, awareness actions to provide farmers with accurate technical information and control options. Pheromone traps will be imported into South Africa to determine the exact extent of the spread and the specific strain of FAW present in South Africa. Diagnostic support has been increased to deal with the bulk of the sample identification. As the Fall Armyworm is a new pest to South Africa, no pesticide was previously registered to be used against it. A process of emergency registration of agricultural chemicals is ongoing, with 2 active ingredients are already registered to be applied against this pest. As with all agricultural remedy applications, the label instructions must be followed in accordance to the supplier's recommendations. Having received the various reports of the incidence of the pest and having undertaken sample collection in Limpopo and Gauteng, the department will now undertake a more comprehensive survey to determine the spread of the pest. In parallel to this, damage assessment will be done and, as appropriate, the necessary actions undertaken to manage the pest. An awareness campaign has been rolled out to all provinces to provide technically correct information regarding the management of the pest. Extensive information on this pest is available from other parts of the world. We have identified specific research focus areas in South Africa that will allow for a deeper understanding of the behavior and biology of the pest. This will enable the improvement of relevant management and control strategies. The department has also initiated a plant pest action group, which consists of members from provincial departments of agriculture, researchers, several producers, associations, and industries which may be affected by this pest. The group will meet regularly to evaluate progress and results. The presence of the pest will be notified on the International Plant Protection Convention's portal in terms of South Africa's international pest reporting obligations. SADC member countries will also be notified and regional control measures will be discussed. I appreciate the support already expressed from Green South Africa and South African national seed organizations, the ARC and the Northwest University to assist with the pest surveillance. I will be visiting some of the affected areas this coming Friday. Crop producers are encouraged to report suspected presence of this pest to the department. Thank you.
The biology of this pest is well known in its outbreak areas in Mexico, or where it's indigenous in Mexico and Brazil. Yeah, this is not on.
Not on here? Yes, on now.
Yes. The biology of the pest is well known in its native land in Mexico and Brazil and other parts of Central and Southern America. This is a tropical species. It's a tropical armyworm. There's about 30 species worldwide, of about six species of Spodoptera in Africa. We're used to the common African armyworm, and there's various other armyworms that are crop pests here, but this is something new. As I say, it has a life cycle of about 40 days, 24 to 40 days. It's a prodigious flyer, so it gets onto the prevailing winds and can migrate large distances. So it comes as no real surprise that it is encompassed or covered vast areas of Africa very quickly indeed. The first reports we got were in January last year from Nigeria, and then during April it had spread across the crop belt in northern Africa. And then we didn't hear about it for quite a few months. And then in December, it started to pop up again in Zambia and Zimbabwe. And before we knew it, it came down here very quickly on the winds. Being a tropical species, like the normal African armyworm, we're not sure whether it's going to overwinter here, whether it's going to persist. It doesn't have a dormant stage, a diapause. So it has to continue feeding and breeding. So we presume that the cold winters on the Highveld here will cause a disruption of that breeding cycle, but we don't know what's going to happen in the more tropical areas of southern Africa, and this is something new to us. As I say, we know about the biology from overseas, but we know very little about it under southern African conditions, which we've got to do a lot of work on.
Tools including chemicals in agriculture, pesticides that are used to control pests and diseases in this country, in terms of the law, must be registered before they could be used. Now, since we heard about the outbreak of the worm, the department, together with the pesticides manufacturer, embarked on a process to have that pest included amongst the pests that should be controlled by various pesticides. Now, in this country, to get registrations of a pesticide, manufacturers are required to provide scientific data to prove that the product will work and also the product will be saved when it is consumed by the consumer. Likely, with respect to the worms that we are dealing with, we already have identified a number of tools, number of chemicals that are already registered among various crops, that we are confident that if growers, farmers could use those products according to the label instruction, the product will be used safely, to the extent that we are confident that the consumers will not be, the use of this product will not pose a risk to the consumers. Currently, we have received a number of applications from the pesticide manufacturers, and the process of getting those products registered is ongoing.
Okay, I think let's take a round of questions from here, then we'll cross over to our Cape Town studio. Let's take 5 questions, and then mix down our answer after that. I think we only have 1 question. You can go ahead.
How soon can the pesticide be in the hands of the farmers, and what steps in the meantime should they take?
The pesticides that have been identified are products that, in our view, should be already with the cooperatives or in the farmer store, because those are products that are normally used, that the farmers normally use to control various pests. So we think that the products that we have identified are products that are readily available to the growers.
Good afternoon. My name is Alexander Janse from the Tax News Agency. My question to the Minister: can you give the size of the affected area at present and your predictions in the coming months? And what crops are mostly affected, maize or grain? And the second question is whether you will go to Harare for the FAO conference on the armyworm, and what would you suggest there to do? What is your plan? Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks. What we have observed currently is that the pest has been attacking sweet maize, sweet corn, and other maize that is planted for seeds. The extent of the spread has not yet been identified, as we said, or quantified. We are still working around the clock, except to say that the identified provinces are the areas in which it has been picked. We will not be able, therefore, to quantify the extent, as we believe that an active action, as explained by Mr. Mazunga, is to make sure that where possible, pesticides that have been identified to work, their prescriptions being followed, taking into account safety to humans or to consumption taken into account, we will be able to overpower or overcome the problem, especially with the shown assistance or participation of different stakeholders, as have been mentioned in the statement. As to whether we will attend the meeting at Harare, yes, we are planning, we'll be attending the meeting as a department. Our aim, as we have shown in our statement, is what is needed more within our continent is the exchange of information, the way we can be able to work together, not only to identify, but be able, whenever such disaster-causing worms are detected, we are able to share information. We don't wait until they strike us. I think this is a lesson we have picked, as we're saying that having to attend that meeting is to achieve that example that no country should be an island. All of us must be engaged, because the impact will be devastating, not only to South Africa, but for the whole continent.
Thank you. My name is Fan. I'm representing the SABC. Mr. Mazunga, I want to phrase it in the manner that will not
cause problems. But you seem not to be sure that what you describe as control measures have ever been tested anyway against this very pest. Are you saying that what you have right now in store will be in a position to deal with the problem we're faced with?
Thank you.
Lorisang Khosana from The Citizen. Just a quick one. You mentioned that the pest was found in Gauteng and Limpopo. Can you please specify where in Gauteng and Limpopo? Thank you.
Jan Henry, can you handle the last question? Yeah.
The species has been detected in several areas in Limpopo, as you know of. The Vivo area, for instance, Mokopane up down to Settlers. Those areas also, north of the South-Sponsorship Mountains in the Sinai area, as well as south from the Fugu down to Letsitele, Tani areas. Then the Gauteng area is a new area, as we said. We only picked up on that on Friday, and that is the northern Gauteng area, close to Bonaport.
Well, in terms of the
Yes, that's right.
let me first indicate that currently the tools that are available have not been tested against the armyworm that we are referring to. Now, what we have done is to identify worms that are normally controlled, which we think that the pesticides that we have identified should be able to work against the armyworm. So that's the process that we have embarked on at this stage.
Yeah, you said that the pest comes from Brazil and Mexico. Have you already contacted your colleagues in those countries? Because they might have the necessary pesticide, as it's a tropical one that's from them. Have you already contacted them?
No, we haven't, but in the literature there's various pesticides that have been used in Mexico and Brazil, and some of those are compatible here. There's various biocontrol methods used in those countries because the pest there is more sedentary. It's a continuous problem in the maize fields. For instance, in Brazil, the estimated losses are over $600 million a year. So it's a constant problem there, whereas here we're getting this migratory flush of insects through. The current pesticides that are registered, or the current remedies that are registered on maize for stalk borers and various defoliating caterpillars are the ones that are going to be advised to be used until more information is available.
Good afternoon, it's Razatara from the MCA. Minister, just to simplify what you're telling us, and not to cause panic, obviously, to South Africans, what is your message with regards to consumption of maize? I mean, should South Africans be afraid of the fact that there are going to be some sort of pesticides that are going to be used to fight this pest? And also, just tell us about your visit on Friday. What are you hoping to achieve with regards to this visit, and exactly where will you be going? And just to go back to my colleague's question, I mean, I know that you said you are yet to quantify just the extent of the damage and just how widespread this pest is. But with the Limpopo farms, I mean, you've given us a couple of names. Just how many tons of maize have already been wiped out, if I had to put it that way, in those places? Thanks.
Thanks. I can assure South Africans that even if this variety of chemicals will be used, as we have said, we will be guided by the prescriptions of the manufacturer to ensure that no residue thereof can harm human beings. The control, therefore, is there to make sure that farmers will be trained or informed of quantities to be used and in the manner prescribed. Therefore, nobody should panic that because pesticide will be used, therefore, and we'll use those pesticides in areas where there is this possibility or attack to deal with the fall armyworm. We will not just spray everywhere. Secondly, on the question of what will be the purpose of the visit, I think we will win this through making sure that all maize producers or any other crop producers are taken on board to understand what we are faced with, to prevent the panic that when a person sees any worm, he thinks it is this one. We need to engage them. We need to make sure that other institutions like provincial governments are also part of the program. And I think we'll win when we work together. Already we have shown what other stakeholders are going to work with us in going forward. But as to which areas, I'm sure when the team works around that, we'll choose areas that have already been impacted. It is difficult in crop production to determine the scale of what you will harvest, as that process is informed by a number of other factors, including the prevalence of rain and all those things. Even if we didn't have this outbreak, no one would be able to guarantee that we will be able to get 80 tons a hectare in Indian. But of course, the reason we want to react very quickly is to make sure that we minimize the damage if it is possible. And we believe with the team of people in the department, our scientists, our pest control, and everybody will be able to prevent the spread. And in the process also understand, that's why we believe that as a department, we must use this exercise so that when we reach or meet with our neighbors, we're able to forewarn where it has not arrived, but build on that so that we have got the required chemicals. But I think we need people to notify us immediately they see anything that makes them concerned, so that our teams, as they have been working until early this morning, can be able not only to identify so that we understand the biology of this particular pest and be able to determine how best to deal with it.
Minister, just a follow-up question on that. Are commercial farmers involved in the planning process, and is there money to roll out a major response process?
Thanks. On the first question, yes, we have outlined that Agri-SA, and I hope all farmer organizations that are involved in crop production will come on board. The University of North West is on board. The second point you are raising is quite important, of the availability of funds, not only to assist people to be mobile and be able to participate and to do all that we need to do. Our team is busy. The DDG is, on my right, they are working on what is prescribed as per the issue of damage control in the case of disasters like this. So that, and already this afternoon, our CFO has been meeting with his counterparts at the Treasury in trying to alert as well as to look for for funding, so that we're able to hit this disaster on the nape before it spreads any further.
Minister Mareka Mark from Jacaranda FM. My colleague Lorenzo did touch on it, but just explain to us exactly, we're already struggling with maize and everything with the drought that's been affecting our consumption and the cost and everything so much since last year. What will be the impact of this? I mean, I know you say that you can't determine yet exactly how wide this is spread, how much this will impact everything, but surely to some extent we're seeing people either already losing some of their crop because of what had happened. Also, are we seeing, or will we be seeing farmers that it's so far gone that they'll have to burn some of this, or is this something that you can literally just use pesticide for, it'll go away? And then also, what if someone consumes that with the worms in it? I mean, just in case.
Thank you very much. I mean, this pest will attack the stalk of the maize. Therefore, if it is on the maize cob, you will be able to see it, and there's no way then you can consume it. But the aim is to hit people. Remember, our maize is still has not yet matured or reached the stage where most of it can have crops. But it is still a challenge, because if it attacks the leaves, it will kill the ability of the maize to give you the best yield. We are concerned. Hence, we believe that an attack on it while it is still in the larva form, it is the best way, because by then we can maybe minimize the extent to which it can cause damage. Yes, we are concerned about this impact on farmers. Hence, we believe that we will do everything in our ability to make sure that we minimize the impact. We know it happens exactly after the drought, but we have been found by those who have been studying climate change that after this drought there may be a number of other disasters, not only limited to the current situation we're in. So as a department, as I'm saying that, our teams have been ready immediately it was detected. And as a new species, I hope that we will be better prepared in future. And we hope that our climatic conditions may not give it the space it has been enjoying in countries where it has been in existence.
Minister Fanage, is it possible that this pest can be imported by, say, importing maize from one of the countries affected? And if so, are you doing any study around the countries that have been affected that you maybe have been dealing with? What precautionary measures are you taking?
Let me allow scientists to deal with that. But because in the understanding we're having is that this pest undergoes all the phases of metamorphosis, from egg to larva to puppy and to moths. Therefore, it is the stage it reaches where it can fly. Well, we believe that it could have been driven by winds to reach our areas. There's no scientific proof, and I'm sure the scientists will speak on that you can transport it by maize. It is more on the basis of the fact that it is spread by wind, by the winds. But I will give the professor to give a scientific reply. I was just trying.
Okay, thank you, Minister. Now, this is a migratory moth species, so it's well known that in its homeland it flies many hundreds of kilometers on the winds. So we picked it up also in pheromone traps here. That's how we first detected that there was something going on. In maize in a silo, it won't be transported. There's a possibility in green mealies if those are moved around, but that will be a tiny number of larvae compared to the mass millions of moths just flying across the whole of southern Africa. So at the moment we're considering it as obviously a quarantine pest, but obviously it's a migratory pest. We're vulnerable to migrations of this.
Good afternoon, Minister, and to the panel. This question is either to the Minister or Professor Price. Minister, you say in the statement that migratory pests threaten food security. Now, I apologize if this has been answered in another way, but how under threat is South Africa's food security? Because that's what the people who listen to the news will want to hear. How much of a threat are we under here, and are you quite confident that we'll manage to get this in control? Thank you.
Thanks. As we have said, in doing our research, what the aim was to detect what kind of pest are we dealing with. We have passed that now because we have identified the pest to be the fall armyworm. Through the report from our pest control area, we understand now that at our disposal, we do have chemicals or pesticides that can be utilized to deal with this one, as long as we can make sure that farmers follow the instructions that are on those. And our hope is that we will still continue to get the support of every farmer, and all the organizations we are working with. And we believe that once we begin then to work on making sure therefore that we control its spread by sprays or whatever form we use, we will be able then to deal with it. I would say to South Africa, I believe that we have got the ability to contain it if the results of the work we are doing are positive. Already we know which areas to target. That has been work that has been done by our teams. Now when we have to come up with measures to control, we know what to do. And I believe that we will be able to deal with it. But to me, the challenge is not necessarily that. The challenge is to make sure that people are educated. People know that they don't need to panic because there have been this. Because the reason we're here is to give them information such that they know what we are dealing with.
Do we have any questions from Cape Town?
There are no questions in Cape Town in this round.
Okay, thank you. I think if that's all, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
When will you report next on the development?
Thank you.
How long will it take you? A month, 2 months, a week?
Yes.
We are constantly monitoring the situation, so we can have weekly reports on where and how far we have proceeded with the survey, as well as the determination of damage in specific areas. Because we get reports on a regular basis, and we also have teams out on a regular basis.
Can you say that regular basis? Is it a month?
No, weekly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We have a team in Cape Town. Can we ask?
Okay.
Chairperson?
Yes.
Okay.
Just want to ask, were there any efforts to engage with affected countries in Southern Africa or in West Africa prior to the armyworm arriving in South Africa? And what did those efforts consist of in terms of engaging with them and predicting what the effects or how quickly it would get here? Could just independent research.
Okay, that's all for now in Cape Town.
Okay, right. Now we have been communicating with our counterparts on all the pests in the region. The only problem with this one is since December to now, we really haven't had much of a communication opportunity in terms of official notifications. We just notified our ID on Friday, and so the communication will follow, as we said in the press statement as well. So that will continue from this week onwards.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks.
Is that the end of the briefing?
Yes, that is it. Thank you very much.
I'll cut you through just to take it in briefing.
No fight.
In the next.
No fight.
So that just we can do
Minister, how are you?
I can't complain. It never rains but pours. From drought to this.
Please remove the unwanted stuff. Minister, can sit up. No, it's no problem. Well, yeah, I just want you to show briefly in this thing.
Hello. Oh, it's a long time, yes.
Minjani abazoba
Sikhona kunjani kwasiyami? Kamandi. Kubi kodwa ke kusawulunga.
kusawulunga.
Kusawulunga.